Kevin Stevenson here with GetMeTheGeek.com, and I have another Proxmox video for you today. Well, did you just buy a new RTX 3000 series card and are looking for something to do with that RTX 2000 series card? Well, I have a project for you. We're going to do some setting up Proxmox for remote gaming. Let's get started. All right, here we go. I'm Kevin Stevenson with PhasedLogix. We're a managed IT services provider. If you'd like to hire us for projects, go ahead and check us out at GetMeTheGeek.com. If you find my videos valuable, go ahead and subscribe and like. If you'd like to support me directly, go ahead and buy me a coffee. Here is my Proxmox machine, and I have installed in it a RTX 2000 series card. And let me just switch back to the full camera here. There she is. And if you look right there, there's the RTX card. Below that, I have a Quadro card, which we're doing for GPU Passthrough. Okay, so first things first, we're going to need to do some modifications to our Proxmox machine. And let me just talk about this Proxmox machine that I have set up for us here today. Under storage disks, you're going to find that I have two SSDs in here. The first SSD has the OS install on it, and it's just a small 120 gig SSD. The second one, SDB, is a secondary data source that I added on here for my gaming machine. This PC, as you can see, is a i7-4770 running Proxmox. And what we're going to do is create a Windows 10 VM, and then we're going to take that GTX or RTX card and pass it through to the Windows VM and set up remote desktop so that we can remote game on this. And I'll show you, I'll play a couple games. I play a game here on it once we get it all set up. So, all right. So first things first, we need to do some updates to Grub on our gaming machine. And here I am SSH'd into it, and we're gonna have to go into our Grub. So let's do a nano, and you can use any text editor you like. I prefer nano because it's quick, easy, and simple. So you just nano into the Grub folder. Here it is. And the first things first, you're going to notice you're going to come down here and you're going to see the Grub CMD line Linux default. And it's going to be probably set to quiet. That's the line we're going to update first. What we're going to do is we're going to add, and also keep in mind this is for Intel. There is a different one for AMD. So we're going to just go down here, go over to the quiet, and we're going to paste in Intel IO MMU equals on, and that will do the Grub update. If this doesn't work for you, there are some other stuff that you can add in there. So Google around, you can probably find that. So we're just gonna save that, and then you need to do an update Grub. Boom. Let me just go ahead and make this bigger for everybody too. So since we're working in the command line here, let's make it bigger. Haha. All right. So typically right here is where I will do a reboot on my Proxmox machine. But let's go ahead and edit the modules also. And we're going to add a few things to that, and paste anyway. Here's what you need to add to it. Boom. Now, if you're looking for all these things that I'm changing, just check out the description in this video for details. Okay, so that's that. Now, let's go ahead and reboot our machine. That's going to take this guy a reboot. And in the middle of that, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you just a little bit about my setup a little bit more. Okay, so first off, this machine, like I said, it's a i7-4770, and we have the GPU installed on it. Now, one of the things that is going to occur with doing a GPU pass-through is that you may lose the ability to VNC using the web interface of Proxmox into that machine. So whenever you create this virtual machine, we want to make sure that we go ahead and turn on remote desktop. And so we'll remote desktop in that so that we ensure that we have GUI access. Remote desktop is what we're going to use for the remote gaming too. Now this machine, and this is what I recommend also, is that you add a second video card to your host rather than use the one that is already in it. In this particular machine, I went into the BIOS and I enabled using the onboard video card, and I set that as the default. So when that is set up and connected to the Intel graphics card, so I still have access to the machine even without using that GT or RTX card. So that's something I recommend. Reload this page, and we should have our machine back here again. Here's our disks, and then we have our data stores. All right. So next up, what we're going to want to do is go ahead and create this virtual machine. It's a Windows 10 machine, so let's just make this big. And I have went ahead and put in here the Windows ISO and the VirtIO for the drivers. So let's go ahead and just create this machine, and we'll call it VM Gamer. All right, we're gonna start this on boot, and we're gonna get next, install CD, and that's this guy, and also this is a Microsoft Windows. Here's your options. We're going to choose 10, and then we're going to go ahead and hit next. Graphics card, you got all these operations here. We're going to go ahead and just hit this standard VGA QEMU agent, and this is important. We want the UEFI version of the BIOS, and we're going to put this on our Data 1 drive, and you can choose the format. You can do a RAW or a QCOW, and also we need to change this to Q35. So here is that's our system. Next, we're going to go to hard drives. Okay, let's just go VirtBlock, and we're going to make this guy a 128 gig QCOW. We're going to do right through everything, and we're going to put it on that SSD again. Because we're using VirtBlock, this SSD emulation is not there. So if you go over to this SATA, you'll have this checkbox for SSD emulation. So if you do choose that, you want to make sure, in this particular case, since I am on an SSD, you want it to emulate SSD. But we're going to do VirtBlock, and we're 128 gigs. And now let's see, let's go ahead and give this guy 6 cores. Now that leaves a couple cores on the regular machine. So it's a 4770, so it has 4 physical, 4 hyper-threaded cores. So if we choose 6 out of the total 8, then we'll have a little bit of headroom left over for the actual Proxmox to use. So this machine has 16 gigs of RAM. So if we go ahead and throw, I don't know, 8 gigs, 12 gigs or something in there for this, that'll work. So let's just do the calculator, and this is how I do it. I go take the 1024 times 12. That'll give us this 1228 or 12288. That's 12 gigs of RAM. So if you go in there and you type in that 12288, That'll give us 12 gigs of RAM on this guy. And then you always want to make sure that you leave a little headroom for the host machine. So I can't use the whole 16 gigs, but we can use quite a bit. Now, we're going to use VirtIO Paravirtualized network card too. And so go to the confirm. We can just go over these settings. This is our machine. We're hit finish. Now it's going to create it. And this guy's created it. But the first thing we want to go do is we're going to go add another CD-ROM drive. And go ahead and look over here. And because we need this VirtIO, because we're not going to have drivers for Windows because we use the Virt stuff. So now all we do is start this machine up. There it is. We can pop into the console on this. It's going to boot off of the CD-ROM drive. So it takes you a little bit of time. Let's just go ahead and change this to scale, local scale, boom. Now you have everything in it. So let's go ahead and reset this. All right. Now, if you noticed, it had that, hit the button to do the CD-ROM boot. So that's what I did. Now we're just going to do a quick install of Windows. This is a normal install, and I'm just going to kind of zip right through that and come back to you. See here, you'll notice there's no drivers. So this is where you hit the load drivers, browse. You're going to find that VirtIO disk, hit OK, and then rescan. That's not going to work, see, because you got to get a little bit lower into the system. Go to VirtIO and then go to SCSI and Windows 10, and then down to there AMD64, and hit rescan. Nothing. Okay, find the right driver here. Let me just do this. Oh, there we go. There's the right one. Real quick, we're going to go ahead and get these drivers taken care of. Alright, so now you see that we have all of our drivers there, and we get another adapter. Let's go ahead and close that out, and this guy here too. Let's go ahead and take a look at our network. Just to show you what we have here. Boom, it shows up as 100 gigabits. That's pretty awesome. It's not. That's the virtual driver. So what we need to do here also is, so you've got displays, you can't change this, you'll notice, and that's just because of how things are set up. And we're not going to worry about that because we're going to install the other graphics card, and then things will be just peachy. So we also need to go back in here and go ahead and do the balloon driver stuff. Oops, wrong CD-ROM. Go to the Virt, go to balloon driver, go down and find the Windows 10 one, AMD64, this guy right here. So basically you're going to take this folder, copy it to your C drive, and program files. You're going to paste it in here, say continue, and you're going to rename it to balloon and click yes, and then you want to go in here, oops, And well, so we need a PowerShell and run as administrator, and that is because we need to be an admin to install the balloon driver, the service rather. And I don't know why PowerShell always takes a really long time for the first time you install. So let's just go back here. Let's go back, go to program files, and you're going to see balloon. And then we're going to type in BLN, and then we're going to do -I, and that is going to install the balloon servers. And so there you have the basics. Okay, now that our Windows is updated and activated, we're going to shut it down and edit the config file. So let's take a look at that. Here we are. As you see, this machine is shut down and it has a VM ID of 100. Let's go back over here to our shell command. If you go to /etc/pve/qemu-servers, you will find the config file for this virtual machine. Now, let's just go ahead and edit that. Here is the virtual machines file. What you want to do is change a couple options in here. First off, we want to change the CPU. So let's go in here and look for CPU. I don't see CPU in here. That's weird. So let's exit out of there. Flip back over to our Proxmox server. Oops. And one of the things we can do in here is edit the processor. And it's probably because, yep, CPU type, KVM. We want to do host, and we're going to end up adding this PCID. Now, take a look at that. That is saved. Let's go back over and take a look at that file again. Now, if you notice, you'll see this CPU, host, and flags. Now the other thing we're going to add in here is hidden equals 1, comma. Now if we go back over here, you will see it in this. Now we can look through here and it's entirely possible that you could add this flag. It doesn't look like this hidden flag is one of the flags that can be added through here. There may be some other flags that you may wish to install on here, but that's what it looks like. All right, so now we have 1 socket, 6 cores, hidden using the host CPU, hidden, and then the plus PCID. That is that. And the next thing we're going to do is we need to go and edit the blocked drivers on the host machine so that it doesn't load them. So let's take a look at that. Get back to this, and it's that the modules are in the drivers are in the mod probe. So we're just going to nano /etc mod probe.d and then pve blacklist. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now the NVIDIA FB is already in here, and we're going to add a couple more. Let me just paste those in there for you. And here they are. NVIDIA, and then Radeon, and this last one here. So we're just save that. All right. So now we have this thing set up. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at PCI devices now. So you're going to see PCI devices all through here. Intel, NVIDIA, and Quadro, I'm going to notice that I do not see. So if you look at this address, there's 2 and 2. So this is for the Quadro card in there. And then you've got to pick out, well, which one is going to be for the other card. Here, this one is going to be probably that RTX card. But then you got to, like, which one do you select? I'm going to take note, as I know that this Quadro one set at 0 is the right one. So I'm going to pick the first one and hope it's correct. Now, this is the little bit of a guessing game in all of this. And there are some other flags that help separate stuff out. Oh, there it is. Go ahead and start this machine up. Oh no, we just forgot something. I forgot to show you you must enable remote desktop. Now, with my machine, it's going to probably be fine because I have multiple GPUs in this machine. So if I go to console, it's still probably going to work, see? But if you only have one GPU in your machine and you're passing it through to this device, then you will definitely need to put in set up remote desktop first. Let's go ahead and get that remote desktop set up. All right, remote desktop settings. Here we go. And we're going to turn that enabled, confirm. So this is the normal way you would install drivers. If you've installed drivers for your RTX card before, this is going to be nothing new. It should be exactly the same. Let's go and let's open up the NVIDIA control panel. And it says your current display is you're not currently attached to the NVIDIA GPU. Close. All right, so here's the part where we're going to switch over to remote desktop. To do that, we need the IP address. 218 is the IP address. We're going to go to the display settings. I'm not going to use both monitors just because I need to use the other monitor for other things. But we're going to do full large screen, all this good stuff, local resources. You can pass through all this stuff if you like. So let's just go ahead and connect. So here we are remoted into this new machine. Here you can see there's my IP address up the top. And let's just go ahead and open the task manager. Down here, as you can see, GPU, RTX 2060, running at 42 degrees at the moment. Bing, bang, boom. Okay, so now let's go back to that NVIDIA control panel. Okay, so first off, here's the important thing is that in order for the NVIDIA card to be activated, you kind of have to put a monitor on it sometimes. So there are some little modules you can do to that. I just actually hooked up a monitor to it, and if you actually were to look at the monitor, you will see this Windows 10 desktop connected to it. So depending on if you put it in the graphics card location of the computer, the integrated Intel one, you'll get the Proxmox graphics. If you put it into the RTX card, you're going to get a Windows 10. So here it is. We are install a game and play it. As you can see, I am remote desktop into here. Let's go ahead and I'll show you Path of Exile. Okay, as you can see here, we're rocking the GPU and it's being used to play this. And so we're going to go ahead and show you the next step. So I hit F1. And as you can tell, I left up the virtualization, the remote desktop here. And as you can see, I'm still remote desktop. I'm still remote desktop in. And here's my frame rate stuff up here. And let's just go on out and play for a second. Let's go ahead and look at my settings here for a second. So you'll see this RTX full screen 1080p, and we might be getting some frame rates dropped to the remote desktop protocol, but overall it's definitely playable. And there you have it, remote desktop, remote virtual gaming with my RTX card. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully I'll have some more hardware pass-through videos coming up soon. If you like this, go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you got something out of it. Hit that like button, and also let me know what you want to see next. Do you think this was useful? Would you do gaming this way? And maybe get some other ideas of hardware pass-through. Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for joining me.